This is Ideal Health Solutions, the podcast with Dr. Timothy L. Brown. Welcome to Ideal Health Solutions, a podcast where we explore leadership, life, health, and purpose, and what it really means to build a healthy, meaningful life in today's world. I'm Dr. Brown, your host for today's conversation. If you're leading teams, raising a family, and navigating your career transition, or simply just trying to stay grounded in a season of constant change, you're in the right place. Let's be honest. Resilience has become one of the most overused words in healthcare and in leadership, but real resilience, that's not a mindset poster. It's not a toxic positivity. It's a skill, and it's forged in the moments none of us would like to really want to choose for our lives. Healthcare professionals are exhausted. Leadership and leaders are navigating uncertainty. Job markets are shifting. Burnout is real. And pretending we can just push through isn't working anymore. Today's conversation is about what it actually takes to perform under pressure and how we build the kind of resilience that doesn't just help us survive, but helps us win in life. Joining me today is someone who doesn't speak about resilience from theory, but from the trenches. Dr. Dan Diamond is a physician, disaster response leader, and author who has spent over 3 decades performing and leading under extreme pressure. From Hurricane Katrina to Haiti, the Philippines, and beyond, Dr. Diamond has led mass casualty response efforts, founding the nation's first state-affiliated medical disaster response team, and helped organizations understand what makes people truly unstoppable. He's been featured on CNN, Larry King Live, Anderson Cooper, and recognized by the American Red Cross as a real hero and awarded the President's Voluntary Service Award. But what I appreciate most about Dan is this. He's deeply human, a physician, a teacher, a family man, and someone who understands that resilience is learned, not inherited. Dan, it is an honor to have you join the show today. Welcome.
You know, I would say one of my most significant credentials is I'm your brother.
Absolutely. No.
And really glad for our friendship. You're someone that I look up to, and just enjoy being able to spend time with you and talking about this, not from some big fluff theoretical perspective, but let's just get real. These are tough times.
You are absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I think from this conversation, people are going to glean not only the friendship and brotherhood that we have created and grown over the years, but really understand where resilience stems from, how we have been resilient in our individual careers and in our life. And I'm just really ready just to jump into the conversation.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So first thing I want to talk to you about is after everything you've seen, Katrina, and I know we're now approaching the 20th year anniversary where it happened in August of 2005. International disasters, healthcare crises came back with a powerful question. How do some people become unstoppable? What do the trenches teach you about resilience that most of us just really get wrong?
You know, I was surprised. I was shocked by Katrina. You know, it was the most chaotic thing ever. We were set up in the parking lot outside of the convention center and had as many as 6 helicopters at a time landing in front of us, blowing everything all the way around us.
Absolutely.
We had the 82nd Airborne guys guarding us with their machine guns. And Anderson Cooper was asking this big question, why are there so many victims?
Absolutely.
And it was a great question. But I had one that was deep in my core that was a different question. And that was, what is it about some of these people that makes them not victims?
Absolutely.
Because some of the people that I saw that lost everything did not become victims.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I remember one of the stories I did a TEDx talk on this guy named Augie.
Mm-hmm.
And Augie was just an amazing story. He was in his apartment when the levee broke and, the waters were flooding up. And so he grabbed his 3 black garbage bags and stuffed his belongings in it and ran down the stairs and swam to land where he could actually get in land. And then he found shopping cart, put his bags in the shopping cart. So he'd lost everything. And he showed up. Can you imagine this? You lose everything. All the belongings that you have are in 3 garbage bags in a shopping cart, and you're pushing your shopping cart around trying to find out where you're supposed to go. And somebody pointed him to us, and so he ended up at our place. And the TEDx talk version is much better because I rehearsed the heck out of that. But the thing that shocked me about him was he set his stuff off to the side and he said, "Hey, man, how can I help?" And he ended up helping us, get supplies and wash people's feet and do whatever we needed him to do. Somebody had a foot injury, we'd send him to Augie, and he'd wash their feet, and then we'd get in there and start working on them. It was an incredibly emotional thing when he walked up to me and said, "Hey, man, can I have the cardboard that's over there against the fence?" And I'm looking at it going, I don't know, I might need it for something. Seriously. I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I know. It's like, what do you want the cardboard for, Augie? And he said, well, there was a couple elderly people over there, and I already gave away my blankets, and I didn't have anything else to cover them up, and I was wondering if I could cover them up with that.
Wow.
And it hit me so hard that I got a little teary and going, yeah, man, you can have the cardboard, you can have my money, you can have my children, you can have everything. It's like, oh man,
you need it,
right? What I didn't talk about in the TEDx talk is it's an even better story, because a month after I gave that talk, I was in Cleveland, and I got in late at night and was sitting, went to the bar to get a burger in the hotel, and there's a guy a couple stools down, and the bartender slid his bill down to him and said, "Thanks for coming in, Mr. Diamond." I thought, oh, that's cool. He's a black guy, I'm a white guy, but I said, I slid my business card down and I said, "Hey man, I'm your brother, the one they never talk about." And we got to talking, and he was in town because of a convention, and I said, yeah, I'm here speaking, doing a keynote presentation tomorrow about lessons learned from Katrina. And he said, "No way, man, I'm a New Orleans cop." Wow. And I said, I just did this TEDx talk about Augie, and I pulled out my phone and I showed him the picture of Augie, and he goes, "That's Xbox." I said, no, this guy's name is Augie. He goes, yeah, his name's Augie, but we all call him Xbox. He's got mental health issues. And I thought, number one, it's not cool if the cops have a nickname for you.
Yeah.
Number two, mental health issues. Could you imagine struggling with mental health issues and being caught in a hurricane, levee break, flooding, losing all your stuff, swimming through the water, and then you show up at a medical triage unit and you're washing feet?
Absolutely.
Like, wow. It really got me thinking, some people don't become victims because they believe they have the power to make a difference, and it's not about them. And it's like, I don't know that I would have it together enough if I was Augie to be able to do that. Well, if I was me and I got flooded. So I kind of had to go back and rethink, because after I get deployed, I have to go back to my practice and go back to work. And then it's really easy to slide into that victim mode of, oh man, I got to look out for myself in healthcare. If I don't look out for myself, nobody else is going to, And that was the beginning of the book, was thinking about how is it that some people think differently in disasters. And I'm not going to say healthcare is a disaster, but it is right now. It's really hard. So there's lessons we can learn from people like Augie. That was a long floppy.
I'll be Hey, I'll be the first to say healthcare currently now is a disaster. There's so many things going on that we don't have control over, and there's red tape that we have to cross, and people that we essentially could help if we had laws that were in place that would allow us to do the things that we know that we can do. So I
Yeah.
know that you may not want to say it, but I'll say it. I'll be the first to say it. We're currently in disaster mode, if you want to call it, and really just trying to pick up the pieces from where we are, where we've been over the past few years, maybe post COVID, if you want to call that where we are. In the healthcare industry, but just trying to figure things out and get to a better state where we can do what we essentially pledged our life to do, which was do no harm and help people that need our help and assistance. And Beyond Resilience, which is the book that you wrote, one of my favorites, been on my shelf for a number of years. I read it at a time where I was just going through a lot, so it really helped me in that time. Rereading it now with a different perspective, post some of the things that we were going through. I actually read it during COVID, so it was one of those. It was, to me, it was spot on from what you talked about. But you talked about resilience as a skill, not a personality trait.
Oh
What
yeah.
does that mean for leaders and healthcare professionals who feel maybe depleted right now?
I think for me, and man, I've had the opportunity to have this tested in my own life way too many times. The What I came up with in that book, at the heart of the book, there's 4 mindsets,
Mhm.
and it had to do with power and purpose.
Mhm.
So Augie was a thriver. He was a powerful giver. My shadow mindset that I tend to slide into the most is the victim mindset.
Mm.
It's the powerless taker. And, I remember when I'm doing keynotes, I'll share the story about this woman that was screaming at the CNN reporter, "When is George Bush going to bring me my food?" I'm like, "He's not. George is busy." But I do that. And
Mhm.
and when I wrote the book, I was really careful to note that this is not 4 different types of people.
Mm.
It's 4 different mindsets, and I use all 4.
That's good. Like
But
that.
what I need to be really good at is recognizing when I slide into that victim mindset, how long does it take me before I realize I'm there? Because it always comes down to 2 questions. I have 2 choices. Am I powerful or powerless? Am I a giver or a taker?
Wow.
Simple questions.
Hmm.
The problem is, under pressure, I don't usually recognize that I've slipped into victim mode until afterwards.
Correct.
And then I go back to my team and say, "Hey, man, can I have a do-over?" That didn't go the way I want it to. I was doing the victim thing, and I was wondering if you'd be gracious enough to give me a chance to try again. Can we start the conversation over again? Asking for a do-over, by the way, that's a gold nugget right there.
Absolutely.
Just tell your team, hey, anybody at any time, including me, can ask for a do-over, because we're not going to get stuff right the first time every time. The powerful taker. So if the victim is the powerless taker, the powerful taker in my book, I described as the manipulator.
The manipulator.
Only it was like this: the manipulator. Except, the problem is nobody will identify as a manipulator, self-identify, including me. So when I'm telling the stories now, I talk about the controller. And, there were people in that disaster that were shooting at the relief workers
Mm-hmm.
because they weren't being rescued fast enough.
That's great.
And it just makes, I can tell you stories that are just like, wow.
Yeah.
But the thought about, why would you shoot at the people you're dependent upon for your rescue seems like so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was writing the book, I thought, man, those guys were, I'm just going to be honest with you, okay? Those guys were stupid. I don't like that word, but that's what I thought in my head, because you don't shoot at the people that you're dependent upon for your own rescue.
So true.
And then I heard this little voice. I don't know if you have those, but I got a little voice back here
Yeah.
that said, "Hey, man, you ever shoot a look at your wife?" I went, "Yeah." "You ever shoot a comment at your kids?" "Yeah."
Yeah.
"You ever shoot an email at somebody that worked for you and it was all about you? Yeah. Oh, so you don't shoot bullets, you just shoot looks, comments, and emails.
Yeah.
And it was at that moment when I was writing that I went, oh my gosh, sometimes I use this controller mindset. And it doesn't work. If that's my shadow go-to mindset when I'm under pressure, that is so destructive for my team. So destructive for my team. You know, it's like I often will joke that if you're out for a walk with your team and you're doing the controller thing and you step out in front of a bus, the whole team will gasp and go, oh, no, it was such a nice bus.
That's horrible.
But nobody's going to dive and save you. The third shadow mindset's the bystander. They're the powerless givers. And they're saying, oh man, somebody should do something.
Yeah.
You know, and I've done that too. But in healthcare, what we need now are we need people that are willing to lean in and say, it's not about me. I don't care who gets the credit. And I have the power to make a difference.
That's big.
And it's hard when you're tired and you're not sleeping well and you're working crazy hours. And I don't know, you're sleeping in a mattress on the, not on a little blow up mattress in the parking lot at the convention center. I mean, I always have that choice, but the hard part is in the heat of the moment, can I recognize it? And when we're doing workshops, we have some really cool exercises that we do on how do you recognize these mindsets when you're experiencing them so that you can catch yourself and go, oh, dude, I'm doing the victim thing or I'm doing the controller thing. I need to regroup and come back and bring my team back together again. You know, how do you create psychological safety in the heat of the moment? And one of those things is saying, hey, I need to do over. I didn't get this right. You guys, I'm doing the controller thing right now. And I've found that to be incredibly powerful. There's also conversations that go on inside my head where I have the controller going, you know, that person's ridiculous. There's, you know, like what's gone behind, you know, and I need to go, you know, this conversation that I'm having in my head is consuming me.
Correct.
It's like a percentage of my brain energy is just grinding on that. I need to call that out, get it out, and say, okay, you're hurting. What doesn't work is for me to be a controller to myself. Does that make sense?
That does.
I don't want to yell. I don't want to yell at myself for yelling at other people. But I want to show up with tenderness towards myself and say, man, you're hurting right now. Look, you're doing the controller thing again. Let's take a minute, refocus, and come back into this situation again and go ask for a do-over.
And it's amazing. It sounds like you are so self-aware. And I think it takes a mature leader to be able to say, you know, where am I in this moment? Even in those high stress environments or in a stressful situation where you have to make a decision very quickly, are you able to be self-aware in that moment? And if you do so happen to shift into one mindset versus another, whether it's that manipulator or you are the bystander, are you aware enough to say maybe that wasn't the right mindset to be in? And if so, can I apologize? Can I tell my team I need that moment to maybe redo this so that we can reset the overall atmosphere and try it a different way? Because often what happens is leaders will just move on past the situation. We made a mistake, we won't own it, and we'll just move on. And then we're leaving our teams there to pick up the pieces and start, you know, maybe the next overall situation. But if you're a leader that's mature enough to be able to say, maybe I did, you know, I might have shifted into that manipulator mindset. Now it's time for me as a leader to maybe reset, apologize, and move forward. I think it does just create a better environment for organizations and individually for your team as well.
I changed that to the controller mindset. not the manipulator.
Yeah. Okay.
Not that I'm trying to manipulate you right
But I
now.
like the manipulate. I don't know something about that. It stuck out. So I like it. But yeah, if you are the
Okay,
controller,
you can
but
have
it
the
does have both,
manipulation. Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But I'm getting ready to do a webinar
Okay.
tomorrow about lessons that I learned from the Filipinos during Typhoon Yolanda,
Awesome.
and talking about how do we become aware is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I've been teaching this stuff. I wrote the book, I think, in 2016. I've been teaching this stuff for a long time. You'd think I was really good at it. I have to practice.
Everyone does.
And in workshops, we get into what are some tools that you can use so you can recognize these things, because it's so hard to do. But it's incredibly powerful. One of the statistics that I came across in preparation for this workshop is that 40% of nurses are thinking about leaving or retiring in the next 5 years.
Wow.
That data came from 2024. I hear a clock ticking going, huh? One of the most important things that determines whether or not somebody stays on the team is not how much you pay them. It's, do they feel like they belong? And the Filipinos taught me a cool lesson, and they have a word for it that I'm going to talk about, but I'll give you a preview here. Bayanihan. No, bayanihan. It means community. In the Philippines, I've responded to disasters all over the world. The Philippines was radically different. The Filipinos are really good at disasters because they have typhoons, earthquakes, volcanoes, floods all the time. It just, stuff just keeps hitting them. This bayanihan concept is about the power of we. How do we come together? So how do we create space, an environment where people feel like they profoundly belong?
Absolutely.
And I think I have a thing I want to show you.
Sure.
Let's see if I can push all the buttons here in my studio and make it work. This thing, let's see, is this going to work? Yeah, this is a piece of yellow glass. And I know that it's yellow glass because I can see it with my own eyes. My dad said if you see something with your own eyes, then you know that it's true.
Yeah.
But then I show it to you and you're like, oh, no, dude, it's actually blue. And I'm like, how can you say it's blue when I know that it's yellow? But then somebody else comes along and goes, oh, it's actually magenta. I'm like, I'm not sure I even understand what this thing is, but it's really cool. It's just a piece of glass. But when you look at it, it's different colors from different viewpoints.
It is.
This is a powerful concept. Like, I'm thinking if you're working in an ED and people are starting to get burned out and you're struggling because your door-to-door times are long, your wait times are long, you're boarding, you're doing all this stuff that's just, you've got impossible tasks. Bring your team together, but remember the whole team. Don't forget to bring in registration, security, the PARs. Bring all those people together, housekeeping, because there's a fairly good chance that one of them is going to say, from my perspective, it looks a little bit different than from your perspective. And I've always thought, what if you did this thing differently? And then you go home with your mind blown going, why didn't I see that?
Yeah.
Some of the best problem solving people, and they've done research on this, are people that are bicultural. If you've got some bicultural people on your team, have a cup of coffee with them and sit down and say, what's it look like when you look at it from an American perspective, what are you thinking? When you're looking at it from pick it, Filipino, Hispanic, African-American perspective, what do you see that I'm not seeing because I only have these eyes and I'm seeing a flat version when we have multiple eyes, we start to see with depth perception.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. When I hear that, I also think about even different genders. How do you see it from your perspective?
Oh, for
How
sure.
I see it from mine? Because then you get a full picture, at least, to be able to make a well-rounded decision. Is what I like.
Yeah.
Which we can go down a very deep rabbit hole with that one. But I'm gonna keep it surface level here. I want to shift gears just a little bit because you did talk about burnout, and I think that's very important now, especially in the healthcare industry. In your experience, what separates those who break under pressure from those who grow through it?
That's a really great question. And I think there's several lessons that I've learned. Some of them I've learned the hard way. One of them is that you go in the direction that you look.
Oh, okay.
I'm a mountain bike rider. And if my shoulders had lips, they would tell you about the trees that I've hit because my head's going, don't hit the tree, don't hit the tree. And then you hit the tree.
You hit the tree. So true.
And, it's just, you're going to go where you look. And so if you show up at work and you're focused on the problems, and this is hard because as docs, we're trained as problem solvers. We have problem-oriented medical records and what problems bring you in today. I mean, we're focused on problems. You're going to go in the direction of what you look at.
Mm-hmm.
And David Cooperrider, the guy that started Appreciative Inquiry, said that the questions that we ask are fateful.
Mm-hmm.
Organizations move in the direction of what they study. So how do we start asking better questions and shifting from a deficit question of how am I going to survive to asking a question like, what is at stake that I really care about? Same topic, different questions. I feel differently in here. So I think, the first point I would say is you go in the direction that you look. The second thing that I've learned is that it's really, really, really helpful to do this business together with other people.
Mm-hmm.
So King Solomon, I've got that rope sitting back there. Let me go grab that thing. Hold on. King Solomon said a cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart because if you pull on any one of these, you might be able to break them. But when you weave those together, this becomes really, really, really strong. So in healthcare, I want to think about how do I bring my team together to create something like this because we're way stronger together. And as the doc, I don't need to have all the answers. As the leader, I don't need to have all the answers. And coming in at the beginning of the day, doing a quick huddle and saying to your team, I'm having a tough time today, guys. I'm feeling really tired and really burned out. And if the team rallies and says, hey, man, how can we help you? That feels radically different than, man, I don't want anybody to know I'm really burned out. They know.
They absolutely know. Yeah.
You smell it when you walk in. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah. But how do we create relationships like that where we're part of the same rope and we're really taking care of each other? And if somebody on your team says, hey man, I'm really hurting, then the next question is not, well, what's wrong and how can I fix it? Then I'm in doctor mode.
Right.
But the next question I would want to ask would be, how might I best support you?
Yeah.
Or a question that I learned from my friend Fred Reggie, the title of his book, tell me. The 2 questions that the 2 words you can use to nurture a conversation with anybody. Tell me more. How might I support you? I don't need anything different. I just need to tell somebody. That feels different than, oh, we know how to fix that. Here, take this, do this. You'll be fine. How do we create those moments. And, we always give everybody on the team the right to call for a huddle at any time.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah. The simple stuff, the family practice doctor in me would say, make sure you're getting enough sleep. You need 7 hours, not 6. Make sure you're eating right. And that's one I struggle with. And exercise is a good thing. I found an app on my phone that's been incredibly helpful for me called Rosebud.
Nice.
It's a journaling app, and it uses AI. So if that freaks you out, don't do it. But and you can kind of tell it who you are and what kind of feedback you want when you're enrolling in the whole thing. So, I told it I'm a Christian, and here's some Bible verses that are important to me, and this is kind of my theme verse for the year, and it'll feed that stuff back to me, and it'll bring back, this is kind of like the thing that you had last week where you're talking about the importance of pausing and noticing and praying and choosing. How might you apply that now in this? Like, oh man. Yeah. So that's called Rosebud. That's been a really super helpful thing.
I love that you kind of shift the gears. I have questions prepared, and I promise you have hit just about every question. So I love that the conversation is flowing this naturally. So I'm really ecstatic. If you don't hear me interrupting, it's because I'm so listening and taking notes in my mental psyche of how this has helped me individually as a leader, as an individual contributor to the healthcare industry, and really as an educator as well, because I'm teaching students all the time where to start. They're fresh into the overall industry. They may be in their first job or first career within the healthcare industry, and just trying to fill out their feed and find where they should transition to. So hearing the knowledge that you have, I mean, I'm jumping in, but I'm like, this Dan. First of all, if anyone that knows me, Dan is probably my number one go-to person that I talk about all the time. So you'll probably hear your name often on the podcast, Dan. But because we spent so much time together, and I know you as a person. It's not just talk; it really is the theory behind who he is, and I love that. So I have just a few more questions, and then we're gonna jump off. But you've led people in life and death situations. Let's just be honest. They can be difficult to kind of to deal with. How do leaders stay grounded, maybe emotionally, mentally, and ethically, when the stakes are high and the pressure's never let up? And then you can talk directly from any of the instances that you've been in, but I really want to know your perspective. How do you stay grounded? And you kind of talked about that a little bit as well. So.
Yeah, I keep this right here. This is my buddy Danny Friedland wrote this book, Leading Well from Within. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago from brain cancer, but he was my best friend ever. We did events and stuff together. But one of the most powerful ideas that I learned from Danny is this idea of pause, notice, and choose. Oh, yes. And I tweaked it just a little bit and put pause, notice, pray, and choose because of my faith background. So it's like, how can I train myself to pause just for a moment and notice what's going on in the environment around me? How am I feeling? Where am I feeling what I'm feeling? I know when I'm in the controller mode, it's right here and right here and right here. I'm ready to go. Come on, you want to mess with this? When I'm in the victim mode, I feel heavy and I sag. Can I pause for just a moment? It's so powerful when somebody shows up and they get in your face. And my initial reaction is, and if I'm not careful, I'll just jump right back. And I always have something to say. I don't have problems coming up with words. But if I can pause for a moment and look at, oh man, they look like they're really upset. And when they say that, I'm feeling a little threatened right now because they're kind of in my space. So I'm feeling small. They seem big to me right now. Take a breath, kind of regroup a bit, and then choose kindness. Man, you seem really upset. I care about you. Can we sit down? Let's talk about this. I'd love to learn more. You know, I came up with this program called Kind Shift because I made a mistake and didn't meet people where they were. I sat down and noodled on this for a while and came up with this idea of kind shift. And there's 4 postures that go with this: sit, stand, shift, expand. Can I sit with somebody that's difficult? Sit with empathy, with the desire to understand, hey man, tell me more about this. I really upset you, but I want to make sure that I'm really understanding what's going on, and I want to hear you. Or, I appreciate that you care about this. Can you tell me why this is so important to you? Tell me more about, why do you think this matters to you? Why does it matter to the team? Why does it matter to the organization? I just want them to go deep. Tell me. And then when we stand, it's, Otto Scharmer and his Theory U stuff, which is really good, by the way. I'm a big fan of his leadership stuff and change management things. And he says, if you get in a helicopter and you looked at this from altitude, what do you think it's all about? Except I've been in helicopters and they're incredibly loud.
Yes, they are.
Wow. You can't think of a helicopter. So I put it in my program, I put, if you got in a hot air balloon and looked at this from altitude, what do you think this is really all about? Oh, yeah. And then shift to, what's the outcome you'd like to see? And then the expand piece is, what would a miracle look like? So if I have somebody that's coming at me and I can sit, stand, shift, expand with them, then that gives them the opportunity to feel like I heard them. And they can come out of that kind of an experience going, thanks, man. I appreciate that. And then part of me goes, wow. That's way better than somebody comes at me like this and I come back at them like that. And then I go home going, I hate my job. I think I'm going to go become a massage therapist or something. Mindfulness meditation.
That's good.
Helpful stuff. This idea of stimulus and response is a powerful one. I'd never thought about it. I remember in medical school, we talked about stimulus and response, but we never talked about the space in between. And how do we stretch that space out a bit? How do we learn how to pause? Mindfulness meditation can be a helpful thing. Although I'll tell you, it took me a month of doing mindfulness meditation, about 10, 15 minutes a day before I went, oh, this is about stretching out the space between stimulus and response. I'm a little slow, but it's helpful. It's not fluff. There's one of the tools that I like is Prolex breathing. In the military, special forces guys, I get to work alongside those guys in disasters because they show up too, fortunately. They use Prolex breathing, which is, the military has to abbreviate everything. It stands for prolonged expiration. So it's 2 seconds in through your nose, 8 seconds out through your mouth, like when you do it against pursed lips. So you got, it brings up your vagal tone, decreases the sympathetic tone, so your body kind of goes, just like 3 or 4 cycles of that. When I'm teaching it, it's dramatic. It's like, if I'm having a conflict with my wife, it looks like this. She doesn't know.
Exactly.
And so we can use tools like that to capitalize on the way our parasympathetic nervous system works in a way that we can bring some calmness, mindfulness meditation. As every time I say mindfulness meditation, I know that there's people that are going, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Yes, here we go again, because it works.
It works, absolutely.
You could say the same thing if I told you to go out and exercise. Oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
But I can tell you it works. I have to take care of myself so that I can take care of other people.
Yeah. And it's that consistency that's needed in order for you to see the results that you're looking for. Not many people are willing to be consistent with anything nowadays. If it doesn't work at the first drop or the first dime, they're ready to quit and unfortunately move on, which leads them into that cycle of things just don't work for me.
Yeah. I'm a streaks guy. You ever do that stuff?
Yeah.
I had 823 days in a row of exercise before I had a quadruple bypass.
Wow. Yeah.
Totally messed up my streak. That was the worst part of having the surgery.
Happened to start over.
Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh.
I can remember when I got my Apple Watch, the first thing I wanted to do was hit 365 days of exercise, which I did, by the way.
Yeah, right
But
on.
yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in streaks all the way.
I told myself when I broke my record of 823 after my surgery and had to start over again, I custom designed a sweatshirt that says Lord of the Rings on the front. It has the 3 rings.
I almost did the same.
I have people in the store going, "Oh man, I like your shirt." They don't know. They don't know that it's. They think it's the book or the movie.
Yeah.
No, this is about streaks.
I
So,
love it. I love
yeah.
it.
I just want to say I think these are really hard times,
They are.
and there's times when you're exercising, you're getting sleep, you're eating right, you're taking care of yourself. You've worked hard to develop a team of at least 2 other friends that you can talk to when you're going through the tough stuff, where you can be real with each other, and it's still hard,
Absolutely.
you know. And then it's sometimes it's helpful to find somebody to come alongside and walk the road with you. You know, we do some mentoring and coaching, but you know, you guys have people there too that do it, and I think being willing to reach out and get some help
Absolutely.
is. I'm better off because I went and got help, and it's okay to get help.
You're absolutely right.
That, and don't forget to ask the registration people. You know, when I did my first clinical rotation, did this happen to you? The first clinical rotation is all about, all right, we're going to give you a tour of the hospital, and you go around to all the different departments, you learn where everything is, and then they get to the floor, and they say, this is the unit clerk. I think they, you know, now they don't call them unit clerks anymore. I like the unit clerk better than par, but this is the unit clerk. She's the most powerful person in the hospital. Don't make her angry. And it's true.
It's so
but
true.
Nobody ever asked them into the conversation of how do you think we can improve? You know, and they have to feel safe. Otherwise, they're going to say, "Oh, nothing. I think everything's fine," and they're still going, "Oh."
Yeah.
I seriously would love to get your insights into this. Are there things that I'm doing, number one, that are driving you crazy? How might I do my work in a way that makes your job better? And do you have any insights on how I can do my job better?
Yeah.
And how we might be able to flow better?
That's good.
It's guaranteed they'll go home that night at dinner and say, the most incredible thing happened at work today.
So true.
You won't believe what happened. It's like, yeah, man.
The heavens open up. And my boss asked me how they can do their job better, and actually stood there and listened to me. Actually, that is amazing. Yeah.
And then came back a week later and said, I've been thinking about what you said, and we're going to try this thing. Then they're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm part of the team. And why would I look for a job anywhere else? I'm not going to find this anyplace else. I'm part of a team here. I belong here. This is really, really, really cool.
That's awesome. What an amazing world that would be. And I know there are several healthcare leaders and maybe individuals working in the healthcare industry that are just like, if we could create this environment, but it does start with you. Have the conversation, be open about where you are. Speak with your leaders and your leaders about what they can do to better your overall organization. Hopefully they're ready to hear it. I believe a lot of leaders are looking for that next shift and that next change. And this will be an opportunity for you to just open the door to positively opening communication for your departments, for your organization as well. Dan, this has been amazing. And I know we have to go. I just want to know what's next for you. How can people get in contact with you if they're interested in working with you?
Through the website, dandiamondmd.com.
Absolutely.
Doing workshops, coaching, keynotes. My thing I'm most excited about right now is we have a program called Teams in Turbulence.
Awesome.
And it's designed specifically for faith-based organizations and healthcare organizations that are already under pressure.
Wow.
And then they get a curveball. It's like, my life was crazy, and then this thing happened. And now how do we regroup? I did a program for World Vision last year. They're working with vulnerable children around the world and their families and communities, and they lost 30% of their funding when USAID just went poof. It's those kinds of scenarios, or, your CMO leaves, an ER doc quits, and you don't have enough staff as it is. It's that kind of, how are you going to keep your head and your heart in the game? That's where my passion is helping teams when they hit that unexpected turbulence.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, look, this has been amazing. I am really ecstatic about the work that you're doing. Like I said, guest audience, if you can take a moment just to go to Dan Diamond's website, that's dandiamondmd.com. Is that correct?
Yep, that's it.
It's on the screen. All right. All right. I want to make sure I had that correct. dandiamondmd.com to find out more about the work that he's doing, the amazing work that he's doing, not only in the healthcare industry, but across the faith-based industry as well. But just to even just to connect with him as well. He's on LinkedIn if you're looking to maybe connect. But I am forever grateful for bringing you onto the show. I want to be conscious of your time because I know I kept you over a little bit, but thank you. This will not be the last time we reach out for sure. And hopefully you're available to come back and do some more deep dive. But I'm just amazed. I have his book. We will be giving a copy of Dan Diamond's book away, Beyond Resilience. So be on the lookout for how that giveaway will be available through our social media page. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. And I'll just say thank you again, Dan, for everything, Dr. Diamond, for everything that you've done for me.
Thank you, my brother.
For the podcast and for our audience. We really are appreciative of you.
I appreciate you.
If today's conversation challenged you or encouraged you, I invite you to share this episode with someone who needs it. Follow Ideal Health Solutions, the podcast, for more conversations about leadership, resilience, faith, and living well. And remember, resilience isn't about never falling. It's about learning how to rise stronger each time. Until next time, keep leading with purpose.